thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Monday, the most important day of the week, and today is Monday, May 6th. And today is Melanoma Monday, you guys.
Take care of that skin, man.
It's also National Crepe Suzette Day.
Crepe Suzette?
Yes. National Beverage Day for all you beverage
named Susie
drinkers. And National Nurses Day. Shout out all the nurses out there giving all those shots and whatnot. You know what I mean? Getting your blood drawn, all that good stuff. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above on your screen to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. And kicking it off first, we are going to start off with the Dope Dad himself. And I do want to apologize for anything that goes wrong on this show today, you guys, because I am driving. Adam is in school this month on Mondays and Wednesdays. And so I'm just giving you guys that fair warning. And I do think that all of our articles will be up on the website later today. So let's see. Oh, no. Let's see. There we go. Can I see you guys all? Let's see. Let's see if this works. Oh, no, I got to go back. Hold on a second. Here we go. There we go. Hold on. Here we go. Now I got it. There we go. Oh, yes. Yes. Kicking it off first. We have the Dope Dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte. Kicking and shucking and jiving, and one time and two time, and that's right. Yeah, the shuck and jive master. That's right, the professional backpedaler, as well as
Jesus.
Yes, that's right. It is none other.
What did you do to Jason over the weekend?
It is none other than Rico Lamitte.
Yeah.
Yes.
Look at that. Just like that. Smooth.
Love it, bro. Love it.
All right. So since Jason don't know how to work the sticks properly, let me show you.
I'm learning, bro. I'm getting better. I'm making improvements every day.
You good, brother. You good.
All right.
Good. But we are 2.5 months out from the 2024 Summer Olympics. Officially, the games of the 33rd Olympiad and commonly known as Paris 2024. And just in time, another top-tier American track star is being knocked off their high horse for popping positive for THC. Now, 3 years have passed, if you can believe it or not. It's been 3 years. 3 years have passed since former U.S. Olympic qualifying talent and current world's fastest woman, Sha'Carri Richardson, was suspended and blocked from competing in the Tokyo Olympics due to failing a World Anti-Doping Agency drug test after popping positive for THC herself. The athlete's unfortunate circumstances led to an international debate over what it really meant for a substance to be deemed performance enhancing, but also whether cannabis should be on the ban list at all. With so many Olympic nations now either legalized and or decriminalized to varying degrees, you'd think they'd at least adjust the rules a little bit. Either way, Richardson put up and lost a valiant fight. She won the hearts of half the nation, became a villain to the other half, and now she's back on top of her game, and we'll see if she tests clean leading into this summer's Paris Games, because it ain't her. Sha'Carri ranks not only still amongst the best female sprinters in the game, but is currently the fastest in the world and favored to win it all this summer. A lot can change in a few short years, but one thing that hasn't is the fact that THC is still on the banned substance list. Something Richardson's high-performing Team USA stablemate long jumper Tara Davis-Woodhall found out the hard way last week. USA Today's Sydney Henderson reported that Davis-Woodhall was stripped of her national title after positive cannabis tests deemed her unworthy of the indoor national title earned with THC in her system. In addition to having the title stripped, she was also suspended 1 month following the anti-doping rule violation. According to Henderson, the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency announced Tuesday that Davis-Woodhall tested positive for THC in a sample collected on February 17th after she won the long jump title at the 2023 USA Indoor Track and Field Championships held in Albuquerque, New Mexico. USADA said Davis-Woodhall's suspension was reduced to a 1 month suspension because, like Richardson before her, she successfully completed a substance abuse treatment program, and her use of cannabis occurred out of competition. Because she surely would have benefited more and deserved a steeper punishment if she had been smoking weed on the track. Nonetheless, she already served her suspension, which started on March 21st. I wonder if she celebrated at the end of the month, that 1 month term, by celebrating 420 with Chuck Schumer and Kamala Harris on the White House lawn, burning it up. The 23-year-old Davis-Woodhall's no stranger to Olympic rules on substance abuse as she competed in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics and finished 6th in the long jump amid Richardson's drama. It's unclear if she had an excuse for the lapse in judgment, but cannabis, marijuana, and hashish are currently prohibited during competition under international anti-doping rules. During the 2021 Olympic trials, a positive test disqualified Sha'Carri Richardson's first place finish in the 100-meter dash, effectively knocking her out of the Tokyo Olympics due to a minimum 30-day suspension under WADA's anti-doping code. The timing and duration of the suspension prevented her from competing in Tokyo. Hopefully, Davis-Woodhall's timing allows her to avoid the same fate this go-round. You know what? We've said a lot about this, the anti-doping rules and all that, especially on the international stage. Personally, I think it's all a bunch of bunk, BS. But you know the rules going into this shit. And what I can say is, like, yo, she should have known better. It happened to Sha'Carri last time, and it wasn't that long ago. But those are just my thoughts. I want to hear the rest of the team on this one. I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, what did she expect? Why would she expect a different result when we've already watched this over and over again play out?
This is like almost the same exact timing.
Exactly.
Like everything is.
It's the Matrix. It's like Mathieu St. Germain fell into the Matrix, and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he took the story with him. It seems like.
I think so.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this one, Jamie? You're muted.
Unmute.
There we go.
I'm of two minds because the athletes know what the rules are, and they put their championships in jeopardy when they break the rules.
Yep.
But at the same time, when Sha'Carri got busted, her mother had just died, and cannabis was her go-to. And I think when things happen in your life that are bigger than the sport, which your mother dying would qualify. I don't know what the new athlete's situation is, but cannabis shouldn't be illegal for these athletes because it's not a performance enhancing drug the way a steroid, well, probably is. We all know that, but not in the sense that it makes you faster or stronger, but just in the sense that it allows you to recover better. But if she was using it for psychological reasons or pain or something like that, would they rather have her on opiates that are prescribed? And also, if she's in a place where it's been legally prescribed, then I think the Olympic Committee needs to do a reevaluation. And it just comes back to the stigma. It comes back to the lack of these regulation bodies not keeping up with the times. When you watch all these professional sporting events, such as football, baseball, name it, they're all going with the trend. It's time for the Olympic Committee to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
Right on.
Fair enough. I'm not mad at that. You have any thoughts on this,
Yarrow,
Yarrow?
MSG?
I'd just say that this is crazy to watch a body so focusedly corrupt, and an organization that, for all extents and purposes started for a really good purpose, but has been completely corrupted by corporate capitalism, even be levying any type of sentence on cannabis. I mean, this is even better than college football in the display of just mining these amateur athletes for millions and billions of dollars of subsidies and sponsorships and ad time, amount of bribes, and just complete complicity in corruption of the entire Olympic governing committee. And then that we enhancing, it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm the one
I
that
don't know if
said
you guys have
Olympic
followed
Committee,
most of what's been happening with the Olympics. Oh, sorry about that.
This wasn't the Olympics, though, right, Rico? This was just another.
No, this is America.
I thought this was the Olympics. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, she
Smoked
is.
a blunt
Well, I'm the one that
for the
said
beginning
that.
of the news today.
Yeah.
Matthew saw them holding the torch and was like, "That's the Illuminati."
She's an Olympian, and she's currently the national champion, and she was stripped of her indoor national title that she won back in February, and because they said she tested positive. She did not take it like during a competition time or anything like that, but there were trace amounts of THC in
I mean,
That's the big problem, is that the cannabinoids stay in your fat and are kind of slow time released through your body when you use them, and we still haven't come up with any type of actual barometer of cannabis intoxication during a moment or an event. We all
I
know
really
the cops
think you
are
should
super trying to do that with different saliva tests and stuff, so they can get us all for DUI.
I really think you should be using I statements. It stays in your fat, okay? I'm so sinewed and lean, it must stay in my bones. Okay, I just want to be really clear. For you,
Hold on, can we
Wagyu
call you
style
bone marrow,
Mad Bod,
then?
yes.
call you
use
bone
the
marrow?
kettlebells, and I actually post footage of me using the kettlebells.
Really?
You should come over
when we-
sometime. I'll show you how to get fit.
When we invited you to come work out with us, you didn't show up.
Yeah, and I was there in spirit. I was there in spirit.
Me and Mathieu
No,
St.
Jay,
Germain
he
worked
showed up
out.
later when we were doing the 8-ounce wine curls.
8 ounce.
Yeah,
wine curls,
I did a Pinot ball. And
bet.
so the thing that comes up for me is
the
like
joint press.
we can all take a step back and go, boy, this was not a really sound decision on the part of this athlete
Not
to
at
do
all.
X, Y, and Z. And to Jamie's point, Jamie came from the heart. This is Compassion Monday for her. She's like, look, there could be things in those people's lives that is causing them to feel the need to make their best decision, even if it doesn't look like the best decision, like emotional pain or trauma in life or blah, 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 blah. The thing for me is, this person's young, right? Because there's no such thing as like a super old athlete.
That's
young
right.
people just don't always make great decisions. That's what being young is all about. If you're young, you look back later and go, yeah, that
was
wasn't the best
stupid.
decision. So if we have a world in which young people can't make bad decisions, we're really, really messing up the path for opportunity for them, right? Like, we want the bad decisions to be, don't get behind a car after you've had too many martinis, or
it's
don't play.
It's a little more nuanced than that, though, Yarrow, because you are a professional athlete. She's about to enter her second Olympic Games.
Exactly.
So like, listen, man, I like Jamie, I'm of two minds on this one too. I get it. I empathize. I have sympathy for her. We have no idea the background of why she consumed.
I get it. It's a self-sabotaging
I know why she
decision.
consumed. It's because she inhaled, bro.
We don't know is when she consumed.
Yeah.
She
When?
inhaled. That's how she
30 days ago?
consumed. It's not rocket science. She inhaled.
Yeah, whether it was 30 days ago or 30 minutes ago, she knew that this was going to show up in her system for a month, right? So we know
I
that
don't
this,
agree with. I don't agree with that, Yarrow, because if she consumed 30 days ago, and all her dumb young friends were like, "Oh, drink some Golden Seal and you'll be fine. It's been 30 days." But Rico said it was trace amounts. And, we're talking about the fact that there are no tests. They're trying to figure out how to get pot people for driving while high. They can't do it. They can't figure it out yet. They haven't done it yet.
Yeah, and they're not going to be able to. And speaking of that, we're going to go to a commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh, man, that was weird. Hey, you, America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Oh, yes, and we're back.
Yeah. We are back like we left something. And up next, y'all know who it is. The High at 9 News head honcho, the highest Republican in every room, known for smoking the best weed in the world every time that he sparks up. Here to break us off a little Monday conversation, Jason Beck.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Good morning, Rico. Hope everyone is having an amazing day today. Happy Monday, you guys. Man, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this, man, because, them stocks were going crazy with this Schedule 3 announcements and this and that. And top public cannabis companies lost more than $2 billion with a B dollars in 2023, despite nearly $9 billion in revenue, you guys. 20 of the largest publicly traded marijuana companies in the U.S. lost an accumulative $2.3 billion with a B dollars last year, and only one of them turned a profit. That's despite the group as a whole pulling in more than $8.7 billion in revenues, according to analysts of public filings by Green Market Report. The included companies are all vertically integrated operators with retail shops, grow operations, and manufacturing facilities in various states across the U.S. The bottom line data is one of the few snapshots available for seeing how the cannabis sector in general is performing financially. A similar analysis of 2022's financial filings found that only 2 of 24 cannabis companies posted profits that year. The group as a whole lost more than $4 billion that year, so losses have arguably contracted significantly year over year. And some of the biggest losers, you guys, yes, everyone loves that show. The only cannabis company that posted net income in 2023 was Chicago-based Green Thumb Industries, which reported a profit of $36.3 million from the year, just 3% of the company's eye-popping $1.1 billion in revenue. GTI also reported profit of $12 million in 2022, meaning the business managed to more than triple its profits year over year. The biggest loser of the 2023 fiscal year by far was Florida-based Trulieve Corporation, which posted a $527 million loss for the year against revenues of $1.13 billion with a B dollars. But Trulieve was far from the only publicly traded marijuana company to post 9-figure losses. New York-based Curaleaf Holdings managed to lose $281.2 million, despite pulling in the most revenue of all 20 companies, an impressive $1.35 billion. GTI, Trulieve, and Curaleaf were also only 3 public plant-touching cannabis companies that surpassed $1 billion in revenues last year. Rounding out the top profit in impaired marijuana businesses are Florida-based multi-state operator AYR Wellness, better known as Air Wellness, which posted a loss of $272 million. Chicago-based Cresco Labs with $180 million in losses, and New York-based The Cannabis Co. Holdings Incorporated with $174 million in losses, followed by Chicago-based Verano Holdings Corporation, which lost $113 million. The widespread financial distress is one reason that many companies and investors are so keen on the possibility of the Biden administration moving marijuana to a Schedule 3 from a Schedule 1, which would save the industry as a whole hundreds of millions in taxes each year, according to various estimates. But it's also not clear when those savings may yet fully kick in. And there's market turbulence because the difference between this year's and last year's analysis belies market turbulence given the circumstances of the 4 absent on this year's list. Of the 4 companies left off the list this year, we have MedMen Enterprises, which has essentially gone bankrupt. 2 others, State House Holdings and Vexed Science, have not yet filed their full year financials with securities regulators, which both companies blamed on a change of auditors. The 4th change to the list, second-tier multi-state operator Red, White, and Bloom brands, with what was also in the red with $104.9 million in losses last year and $240 million in debt against $88.3 million in revenues, the company reported in April. The big takeaway from the never-ending losses, according to the Greenwave Advisors founder Matt Kearns, is the expense of doing business while the entire U.S. marijuana industry remains federally illegal. He says, in quotes, turning a profit is difficult as well as generating significant levels of cash. That's really it in a nutshell, Kearns said. That's why everybody's been hounding the government, because everyone is running out of money. 280E is just killing everybody. Kearns agreed, however, that there are plenty of other factors dragging the sector down financially, including misplaced optimism when many of the nascent companies went public over the past several years, and an underestimation of the strength of the illicit marijuana market. Cheaper prices and real political progress at the federal level has taken far longer than many industry insiders were expecting 5 or 10 years ago, Kane said. And that led to a lot of expansion plans that have fallen through investment in infrastructure that aren't panning out, and widespread price compression, all of which has piled onto the cannabis sector to drive down profit margins. In quotes, the inability to accurately calculate when this all will change, to read the political landscape correctly, is really hard, Kearns said. On the ongoing financial losses, he said, that's a big part of it, he says, you guys. Well, I mean, that is a big part of it. I definitely agree with that. That is 100% true. But, you know, there's just so many things going on with this, and the whole cannabis industry is just basically going to hell in a handbag, it sounds like. But meanwhile, all these stock promoters that I see on all these other different YouTube channels are all just hyping up cannabis stocks because the cannabis stock went up because of Joe Biden's announcement about Schedule 3. But we all know, I follow the mantra of short them all. But nonetheless, I'm not a financial advisor, but I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. You're on mute, Rico.
All the money went to the trap.
All the money went to the trap.
There it is.
Oh, man. The trap is thriving.
The stock market is just speculation and gambling. We're watching Joe Biden say the economy's great because the stock market's up, but meanwhile, like, homelessness is insane, and most families that are double income earners are just above the poverty line. Almost, I think it's about plus 60% of Americans right now are operating almost completely on their credit cards and have nearly maxed out their credit cards. And 60% of the entire American public.
Wow.
Yet they say the economy's doing great because the stock market's booming, which is literally it's just Vegas. It's a confidence game.
It is. That is very, very true. It is a confidence game. That's for sure, Mathieu St. Germain. That is without a doubt.
The other thing we see is what Rico said, which is trap is winning because people are thinking about pricing, real. They're not encumbered by taxes. That's true. But there's also like a lot more care to quality. Continue to be higher quality, at least on the West Coast, the friend scene, than there is in the legal scene.
Fair enough. Fair.
I think this article doesn't take into account privately held companies that don't have to report their financials. And I do think there's a dynamic when you're playing with other people's money that can infect the thinking process and spending habits of certain corporations. And so I think it's worth pointing out that there are probably some lean and mean companies out there that don't have to share anything about what they're doing. And that's worth noting.
Jamie, I think Jamie, as the one out of all of us that has actually run one of these giant cannabis companies, what are your thoughts on the numbers from last year?
Well, a couple things. I listened in when Kim gave True Leaves recent financial report, and she indicated that Trulieve spent $350 million on 280E alone. So when you take the 280E and factor it in, and then I think about how much money did they spend on getting Florida moved towards putting recreational cannabis on the ballot. That was another probably 50-60 million. So when you start chipping away at that, and then you think about what's going to happen to that company if Florida goes rec, I think they'll be fine. I'm not worried about that particular company or any of them for that matter, because once 280E is gone, a lot of them are going to have a completely different financial.
Are they really?
Circumstance. I think so.
Because I
think what happens then is that you've got a lot more cash freed up, where some of them aren't paying taxes, and Trulieve just was able to file that 280E challenge and get $180 million of taxes back. But I think what ends up happening is you're going to see some major tax relief, and then you're going to see a bigger boost just from the ability to do different things differently and cheaper, because there isn't any more green tax, right? Then you've also got the cost of capital is going to come down and all of those things. But what I'll tell you is I just had a meeting with a company I won't name, and they were talking about a different venture that they were in, to Yarrow's point, that was a private venture, and how it was a Canadian LP and it lost a bunch of money, and they were completely dismayed because they raised $50 million, and that was all friends and family money, and they lost all that money, and that was such a tragedy. And I looked at them and said, all investor money is friends and family money. When you think about it, all these people have friends and family, and they're putting their money in with the concept of wanting to get a rate of return to make life better for their family. What I hope, and this is the way it was explained to me, and we'll see. I think the biggest jump you're going to see is when uplisting happens, because the way it was described to me was the New York Stock Exchange is Disneyland. The TSX is the county fair, and the CSE is the lemonade stand at the county fair.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
And that essentially, and this is true, the type of investor that can invest on the CSE from America, for example, you can't just get on Charles Schwab. You can get on Charles Schwab by the pink sheets, but you got to get on these exchanges like, not the exchange, but these brokerage houses like Haywood. Well, in order to know that Haywood exists, in order to put money in there, you've got to be sophisticated. So this isn't pension funds and grandma's, retirement that's investing in most of these CSE companies. When I'm talking about specifically when they're doing it on the CSE, not on the pink sheets. But I'll tell you that once they're up in the NASDAQ level, and they're able to cross-list, you're going to see the cost of capital go down, institutional capital will come in, and life will look different. So while these numbers are astounding, and the one that nobody mentioned, which I find really interesting, is why didn't she talk about canopy growth? That's basically, they got a $5 billion cash injection, and they burned completely through it. And burned, being the opposite word. She doesn't mention that one. I'm
gonna come out with a new strain and call it 5 billion, so we can just burn through it.
I'll do a 1 billion.
Yeah.
Here's my whole stance in a nutshell. We're in prohibition. And until we're not swimming upstream and we're able to, buy AdWords on Google and do what everybody else can do and get the cheaper money and bank without getting bent over. I mean, right now, in a lot of ways, we need to be thanking, and I know this is not going to be popular, but we do need to be thanking the MSOs, because it's going to take that type of corporate big money to start chipping away at the stigma. I mean, it's not the mom and pop growers that ever got that done. It's going to be these guys that are going to be hitting the mainstream with the dollars that they have that are going to help the rest of us, make a living in this industry.
I, for one, can't thank the vulture class that's going to come in and scoop everything that people I know were killed for, were injured for, did 10 years plus in prison for. I reject that statement completely. With respect and love for you, Jamie.
Fair enough. And
We can agree to disagree. I'm not.
Yes, ma'am.
No guys like Yarrow that are sitting here that went to prison for the plant. It's no disrespect to them, but what I'm saying is it's going to take both things to make this
is like a larger fractal ripple of 215. When 215 passed in California, everybody who had an uncle with cash and little tiny balls jumped in, or ovaries, as the case may be, jumped into the weed scene. A lot of those people are complaining about the bigger MSOs, et cetera, coming in, but they were just doing the same thing. I just stand firmly on my ground that there's a lot of people who really believed in the message of this plant and not this new generational wealth and make money thing. Those people pushed for the legalization of cannabis and put their bodies on the line. They put their families on the line. They put their entire lives on the line. And no, we don't need to thank people who came in to make money off of something that actually contains a message as a teaching plant. Firmly reject that.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. Kim Rivers and I are girlfriends. We vacation together.
Oh my goodness.
I know her.
So amazing.
I know that she started that company at her kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
I know that for her, the plant has a message, but she's badass. And when I met her,
can I ask you? She runs True Leaf. She runs True Leaf.
Hold on, Matthew. Let her finish.
Yeah.
Let her finish.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. That was all.
Yeah, she runs True Leaf. And when I met her, it was back in 2017. She had about 200 employees, and we negotiated the very first licensing deal. She negotiated with Scott, who was my CEO at the time. I didn't negotiate that with her. I came later and negotiated an 11-state deal with her just to expand what we already had. By then, she had 9,000 employees, but she took that company from her kitchen table to where it is now, not because, and there's all the conversation about they bribed and blah, blah, blah. But if you look at the details of the case that her husband went to jail for fraud, it had nothing to do with True Leaf's licenses. It had to do with a commercial real estate deal that also had nothing to do with True Leaf, that had to do with before she and he were even dating. What happens when you're a woman and you're doing well, and again, probably not a popular statement, everything you do, from the clothes you wear, the decisions you make, are scrutinized more carefully.
We're getting way off topic here. We're getting way off topic.
Anyway,
we're not talking about men and women, and we're not talking. Nobody was defaming Kim Rivers. We'll say True Leaf is operated in a corrupt manner in Florida and elsewhere, and they don't put forth good product. So again, I don't know why we're spending all this time defending a company that is just garbage product into the market. Like, if we want to talk about being thankful for somebody, show me an example of somebody we can be thankful. Show me an MSO that has behaved with integrity and a high level of ethics, that is bringing high quality cannabis and hash into the space. Show me that. Let's begin the discussion there. And again, I said nothing about anyone being a man or a woman. What we were talking about is, we don't have to be thankful for the vulture venture capitalist class that is coming in to out the culture of cannabis and make money and transfer those same money, continues to be transferred from these families and these banking houses and these wealth management firms to the same families. We don't actually have to be thankful for.
Well,
that's all I was trying to say.
Let me come in over the top with my little John what.
Oh boy.
Yesterday was Cinco de Mayo, Mexican Independence Day.
Cinco de Mayo, bro. Cinco de Mayo.
That's always a really tough day for me, because that's one of the days I was led from court in handcuffs to go serve time for my activity in this industry during a Proposition 215 era. And so it's a day for me that's kind of melancholy and one of reflection. And when that happened, as I thought about that journey, I've really struggled to create silver linings, to make lemonade out of lemons. And one of the things that's kept me going is this notion that the best revenge is living well, and that I'm going to be there not at the beginning, but also as these chapters continue to be written, and that I'm going to live well and F the system that set up the conditions that led my decisions to creating that outcome for myself. And so do I think that there's a notion of a benevolent MSO? I'm not sure, because I think it triggers a broader conversation around the fairness of capitalism in a system that is not entirely where it needs to be in order to support all Americans. And with that said, it is easy to bash on MSOs the way it's easy to bash on Microsoft. Okay, I hate Teams. It sucks. Okay, but they do create some products, and the world is using a lot of it, right? And so I think that within that, if we strip apart this notion that all MSOs are bad, MSOs have not gotten a lot right. But I think what Jamie's point is that those organizations and those entities, malevolent, benevolent, neutral, let's not put them all maybe in the same one size fits all category, they are in a position to effectuate some change that mom and pop and single state operators can't. Now, if the change that they effectuate is a net positive for other people in the industry, we can probably step back and say that was good. Now, Hitler was a great painter, but that
Let's go before you digress into Hitler.
You guys.
So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the MSOs using their weight
another story
to leverage against small operators in Florida. Let's talk about the stories we've discussed here on the High at 9 News about those same MSOs interfering with the social equity process and other processes for their benefit.
Or the ban on home grows and supporting no home grows.
MSOs.
Hold on. What about banning all the cannabinoids sales in the hemp market?
Let's talk about the MSOs and large corporate movers getting in with Gavin Newsom. All of the rules allowing for vertical integration and destroying the acre cap in California. What we can see from all of these MSOs is they are vultures, they are scavengers, and they are predators. And they continue to come in and operate for their benefit. And here's the thing: is I wasn't even bashing them. My point was, no, you do not have to thank these people who are coming in to the detriment of the quality of products in the cannabis industry because they have a ton of money and it's finally legal enough for them to come in and not have to risk their balls. You do not have to thank them. Didn't say we have to bash them. Didn't say anything about men or women.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Hold on,
we don't
guys,
need to pay
we gotta go.
Newcomers
Lastly,
to create the occasional net positive.
Check it out, guys. We got to roll. We got to roll.
I just want to say I'm about the one person who got into the cannabis for the message in cannabis and not just to make money. Maybe I have a different perspective than most people.
Fair enough. We got to roll.
Respect to everybody.
We're going to roll right on into Mr. Mathieu St. Germain, who is on a rant today, going as a triad, rolling around. He is the immortal one from Sonoma County. That's right. It is none other than Mathieu St. Germain.
Thank you, Brother Jason. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Yarrow. Peace, respect, and love to you guys.
That doesn't look good.
Hi, everybody out there. Can you tell that I smoked a huge blunt today for the first time in a couple weeks for the news?
Yeah.
So I have a story about stuff going on in Vermont. In Vermont, recent legislative developments have focused on the potential benefits of psychedelics in mental health treatment. The bill, initially passed by the Vermont Senate, has undergone substantial modifications in the House. House Human Services Committee, influenced by Representative Ann Donahue, Republican, removed several ambitious provisions from the bill. Initially, the bill aimed to explore the decriminalization of psychedelics, establish equitable access timelines. However, now it will solely concentrate on evaluating the cost-benefit profile of psychedelics in health. Thanks, Representative Donahue. Go Republicans. Redefined 8-person task force is tasked with reviewing the latest research on the public health benefits and risks associated with clinical psychedelic treatments, examining the laws from states where healthcare providers can use psychedelics therapeutically. The amendment also shifted the composition of the task force, replacing representatives from the Psychedelic Society of Vermont, the Brattleboro Retreat, with members from the Vermont Department of Mental Health and the Vermont Medical Society. Josh's approach reflects concerns from lawmakers like Donahue, who have expressed skepticism based on personal experience with psychiatric treatments. Despite these changes, the task force remains a significant step toward understanding and integrating psychedelic-assisted treatments into healthcare. Broader context of this discussion includes increasing interest in psychedelics across the U.S. It's like Maryland, Indiana, Utah. Several others are exploring or have already passed legislation focusing on the therapeutic use of psychedelics. Maryland and Indiana are looking to regulatory frameworks. Utah has authorized a pilot program for administering psilocybin and MDMA in hospitals. At the federal level, the FDA has granted breakthrough therapy status to MDMA and psilocybin, though the DEA continues parlay against that. and this is mostly for conditions like PTSD. As these discussions evolve, sorry I'm melting down, they highlight a shift towards exploring alternative treatments in mental health care, supported by both scientific research and legislative action. This dynamic landscape indicates a significant, albeit cautious, move towards integrating psychedelics into therapeutic settings. This is Mathieu St. Germain on a Monday, falling apart for the High at 9 News and ready to discuss this. For me, this is just really great. I think this is a great move in a great direction, and I'd love to hear what y'all have to say, and let's get it on.
Man, Mathieu St. Germain, I was just impressed to hear you congratulating Republicans and giving them some props.
As that was ironic because they took all of the good stuff out of the bill, Jason.
They took all the.
I don't know if you caught that.
I figured as much. I figured as much. I just wanted to rewind. What were you going to say, Jamie?
It's called sarcasm.
I know.
Thank you.
I know. That was my sarcasticness of, Mathieu St. Germain saying that.
I also am not into the Democrats either. I'm into neither. I'm a no to both.
We know that.
Yeah. What do you guys think? And have you all ever had any friends, family, or relatives who have been positively influenced by psychedelics in a therapeutic setting?
I mean, I don't even understand what a real therapeutic setting would be like for psychedelics. I mean, what are they going to put you in like a pink rubber room? You know what I mean? So you don't hurt yourself and you can lay down on something or something. I mean,
for many of us, a therapeutic setting can be a concert, can be a place where we're watching the sunset while we're listening to our favorite artists at Reggae on the River, hand in hand with our little clique of people passing something very, very loud and enjoying a moment of connection, not just with the people we chose to attend, but also with the people whose music speaks to our heart. And in those settings, being able to leave our cares and our daily woes behind and connect with something inside of ourselves as well as the people around us.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a friend from high school that he's tried to kill himself countless times and suffers from very, very severe, I would consider it untreatable PTSD, or not me, but it's been diagnosed as non-responsive or whatever they call PTSD that doesn't respond to any other treatment, medication, cognitive behavioral therapy, all those things. So there's a clinic here in Billings, Montana that does these psychedelic trials, and they put him on ketamine. Now, obviously, he's tried to kill himself, so now he's got a traumatic brain injury from taking an overdose of psychotropic medication. And, he's just basically lives with his mom and is surviving. He's not thriving by any stretch. And he just goes on these spirals where he just is, you'll talk to him, how are you doing? He's like, oh, they're still raping children in Africa. And we're like, what does that have to do with your life? Like, start thinking about different things. He just can't get out of the spiral. He goes on ketamine. It was like, I had my friend back. It was crazy. So all of a sudden he's working out, he's eating right. It's like, it builds on, like this lift that it gave him. And it was so remarkable for all of us who love him. And then the trial's only allowed to last for 6 months. And then they literally just dropped him cold turkey like a hot potato because the trial period ended. And then boom, he was right back down where he was before. And that was almost worse. Mm-hmm. Watching him go have that glimmer of hope and then go right back to where he was before the ketamine treatment. So, I mean, I know that the clinical trials are necessary, but man, was that hard to watch.
I mean, first of all, my heart goes out to him as well as to you and the other people who had to watch that in a sort of powerless position. But I have to take issue with something. You can't go cold turkey and hot potato. You got to decide what your meal is going to be. Are you going to go warm and go mashed potato with gravy? Are you going to go cold turkey and some cheese and crackers? Because otherwise the meal analogy doesn't equate.
Fair enough.
Well, sorry about my
How about a mushroom pizza? How about a mushroom pizza?
analogies, but it was just from like the trial was there. They were giving him ketamine. The trial ended. Done. No
Well,
more
so
ketamine.
isn't ketamine
I
available?
think-
Can't people go to these clinics and like? Isn't
Not
it
everybody
widely
can afford it
available
though, and not everybody
can afford it.
knows.
Yeah, that's true.
What I'd like to point out too is that there's a lot of resistance, and I for one have been one of these people that have actively voiced resistance to the pharmaceutical only model. But I've seen, and especially from friends that I have and family relations that do ayahuasca curanderismo, is some people and quite a lot of people have a lot of trauma. And trauma isn't just what happens to you. It's kind of how you, your unique genetic makeup and life circumstance deal with it. The same thing can happen to two people, and one person can have trauma from it and one person not. And see, as a lot of people have trauma, nearly everybody who's homeless or a drug addict has some sort of early childhood trauma. A lot of those folks want to get the healing benefits from psychedelics, but they are so afraid of losing control and being by themselves, being in an unsafe place. They really actually do need a container that feels safe and is therapeutic so they can work through the trauma and get to a point of like a mellow grounding where they can probably eat some mushrooms with the fam at the Fish concert. But not everybody's ready. And when we see these stories like Yarrow you've shared and like I've seen, we've all seen psychedelic fallout. And that's usually from psychic mental trauma, emotional trauma that's never really been addressed. And one of the biggest places I've seen for people to have bad trips that end up in psychological problems is folks who are raised hardcore religious, specifically Christian, because we're in the U.S. They get messages from inside themselves that are completely contradicting and countervailing to the Abrahamic Christian narrative that's pushed forth in the U.S. And so they begin to think they're crazy because all of the stuff they've been programmed with by their family, who they love more than anything, is totally like their own psyche is rejecting it as false. And so for a multitude of reasons, there are people who need psychedelic big brothers and sisters and a psychologist or therapist and some sort of container to do psychedelics safely. That being said, no matter what happens to the legalization, decriminalization process, we all need to remember as free human beings that are members of this earth community, we can grow and imbibe any plant or fungus that comes from this earth naturally for free for our benefit without anyone's approval. And so, yes, there might be a $15,000 MDMA trip on a psychologist's couch to help you with something that happened to you earlier in your life. Doesn't mean you can't go on a walk, find some mushrooms, eat them, and connect with nature and have a beautiful time.
Fair enough.
Both can be true.
Fair enough. And on that, we got to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. I know you'll appreciate it. We'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles will be on our website later on today so that you can check those out. I do apologize for the delay, but nonetheless, we are going to roll right on into our final commercial of the day. I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla. Oh yeah, and we're back, you guys. We are back. We are gonna roll right on in to Miss Jamie Pearson. She's the former CEO of Bang. She's also a new CEO of a brand new company that what is it called again, Jamie? I apologize.
The New Holland Group.
The New Holland Group, which is specializing in cannabis all throughout Europe and the EU. That's right. So now, if you are in the EU, make sure that you reach out to the Holland Group for all of your cannabis needs. That's right. It is none other than Miss Jamie Pearson. Yes.
So I'm bringing you a news article from Germany, which, for those of you watching that don't know, but I think everyone does, Germany went rec on April 1st. We'll put rec in air quotes. And basically what they did was allowed, they call them social clubs, but they're not social in any way, shape, or form. They're basically grow cooperatives. So you can have 500 members, that's capped. And they can grow. They cannot hire anyone to grow for them. They cannot have edibles. They can't have concentrates. So it's essentially I don't know, grow cooperative situation. They also legalized home grow. So 4 plants per person, and the seed industry has gone bonkers in Germany from that, and also the grow equipment. So there's a lot of companies coming out with these little self-contained, tents and things that we're all used to seeing here, how to successfully grow a plant. Everyone's got their little system. So the lighting companies and the grow, I would say, industry has really exploded, but it's baby steps. So the first thing they did was decriminalization, which, we all know from experience. If you start there, then the plug on the street corner is emboldened because, before they had to watch their back, and now they're like, oh, I'm allowed to have 25 grams. It's like 25 joints. And then they can just go refill. So you can have 25 grams on you in public. And you can have 50 grams at home, but nobody's going to go check you at home unless they suspect you're the plug. But anyway, so as we expected, cannabis has proliferated. It's everywhere in Germany, and they saw an explosion of people going to get medical cards because they took cannabis off the narcotics list. So now it's a lot easier to get a prescription. It's not, controlled like opiates and other narcotics. So the interesting thing about the article that I'm bringing to you is how the Germans handled the prisoners. I think that in a lot of the places where we have, like when they're talking about going from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, the prisoners were a non-issue. It's all about the taxes. So and it's all about banking. It's all about finance, but it's not about what happens to these people who are in jail for something that everybody else is making money on. And we all know how ignoble that is. But so this is basically the headline is out of a local newspaper from Luxembourg, and it's saying 9,800 files must be examined due to cannabis legalization. So in Mainz, Germany, in Rhineland, around 9,800 criminal files have to be checked as part of cannabis legalization. Inmates were released in the first few days after the law came into effect. As part, and a lot of the people in the background in the know say that what took Germany so long, there was one delay, and everyone was expecting more. But the delay was because they were trying to figure out how they were going to manage the prisoner situation. And they had to come to an agreement. So where we have a 2-party system in the U.S., in Germany, they have a parliamentary system. So you don't vote for a person, you vote for a party. And if your party gets 5% of the vote, they get to go participate in politics. And then what has to happen is these different parties have to form a coalition to rule. And if you have 51% of the vote, then your coalition wins. So then what happens after the vote is these parties get together and they try to form coalitions. Well, you're not going to have the Nazi Party and the Green Party get together because they're diametrically opposed. So what you're going to have is more like the Christian Democrats and the Greens get together and the Social Democrats, and then they form the coalition, and that's who rules the country. So that's what they have in Germany is the traffic light coalition. That's what they call it, is who got together to rule the country. And these are the people that got cannabis legalized. So part of the problem was they couldn't figure out what to do with all these prisoners or how to decide who got let go and who didn't. Did you have a gun charge? Was there violence? All of the things. So what I found interesting is this local regional article talking about the fact that they've got to review 9,800 files that qualify for these people getting let go. So it's going on to the article. As part of the partial legalization of cannabis, 11 people have so far been released from prison. So this was, 3 weeks after legalization in this particular region. So 11 people have so far been released from prison in Rhineland. The Ministry of Justice in Maine said the dismissals were made in cases where sentences had not yet been fully enforced for actions that had no longer been punishable since April 1st. So if your case was pending, so there was 11 people with pending cases for cannabis, and now it's legal, they just got thrown out, those people got let go. So the Rhein Zeitung had previously reported on it. The majority of the releases took place last week in connection with the Easter holiday amnesty. One prisoner was released on April 1st, 2 more on Tuesday, so on and so forth. In total, around 9,800 criminal files have to be examined in Rhineland because of the cannabis law, because of the amnesty regulation for old cases provided for in the law. According to the Ministry of Justice, it cannot yet be said when the review of all these procedures will be completed. In many cases, court decisions are necessary. The public prosecutor's office must not be overburdened. This is always the case when total penalties have been imposed, i.e. penalties for multiple offenses such as possession and bodily harm. These penalties may now have to be reduced. These court decisions must be preceded by a regulated procedure that takes into account the rights of those affected, so the person that got harmed in that crime. These could take a few weeks. A certain priority will be given to the procedures concerned. However, because the prosecution of serious crime is not becoming less important for public prosecutors, there's currently less time left to deal with the less serious crime, the ministry said. So that's the whole article. And what I want to talk about is the fact that, and this happens in the U.S. a lot, where if you're charged with, let's say, cannabis possession with intent to distribute, possession of a firearm, and who knows, conspiracy to whatever, what they do is they'll compound your sentence because there were more than 3 things involved. And so if you were caught with, say, 25 joints, a gun, and you had a prior, well, those 3 things compound, and it means that your minimum sentence is going to be higher than if you just got caught with the 25 joints. Well, in this case, they're saying, wait a minute, we need a procedure because that compounding has to be taken into consideration. If this guy has caught 25 joints, he's probably got cash on him. He's got the gun for protection. And we can no longer, now if we say those 25 joints is legal, then he doesn't have the same amount of compounding effect. Then maybe the gun charge gets reduced because it's now just a gun charge. And instead of doing 5 years in prison, you're only going to do 6 months in prison. We got to look at that. And if the guy's already done 4 years, he should be let out, he or she. And they're going to have to sit there and analyze case by case. And I think part of what they don't have in Germany, which we have here in the U.S., is they don't have a prison industrial complex. They're not, prison's not a private industry there, and they are not, I mean, even if you get arrested for murder, you don't spend life in prison most of the time. Prison's not the goal. The goal is rehabilitation in the European prison system. You just don't have people languishing in jail like we do here, because here it's a business. So that's one of the things I just wanted to talk about, was how in typical German fashion, they're just very black and white about, okay, well, now we need a formula to apply to all these cases, and people are going to get out of jail. That's just the facts.
I mean, I think probably the easiest way for them to figure this part out, though, Jamie, is for them to come up with their scale and then have inmates be able to file to say, hey, my case would be eligible, and then start the review process that way.
Yeah, they're going to do it. I mean, it's no question. They're going to figure it out, and they're going to be very efficient about it. They know how to efficiently. I'm not going to say it. I'll just leave it.
Don't go there.
They know how to efficiently do things.
If they want to.
Deal with masses of people.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm going to say is we could take a page out of the German book. I think in the U.S. we could take a page out of what they do. Usually it's all the other countries looking at America for how did Colorado deal with this, or how did Canada deal with this? They look to the North Americans to figure out, how are you guys managing this new world? And I think this is a case where America can take a page out of the German book.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yes, but, right? And so Germans are known for their efficiency. And as I was thinking about you covering this, and I was thinking about their conversation around reducing the criminality of cannabis use, cannabis activity, cannabis possession, blah, 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 I was thinking to myself, at what point do countries do the right thing, but it's so far down the timeline that it's no longer the right thing? And I was thinking about this in terms of the history of all things civil rights. If you're a country and a community of color finally gets the right to vote, but it's 2030, you were over 100 years behind the curve, right? If you're a country and people can marry whoever they want to, no matter what the gender is, and same-sex couples can get health benefits. If that happens in 2050, you're behind the curve. Like, you got to the right place, but the time that it took to get there is in and of itself a massive harm. And so the thing that challenges me with Germany is there's still this rhetoric that contributes to the stigmatization of cannabis. You can still get sloshy, bloshy drunk in public, but you're going to get in trouble if you so much as use a vape cart in an open air area. And so what I'm looking for is the thing that you just touched upon, which is that German efficiency. And when we see German efficiency applied to a normalization, a legalization, and a commercialization of regulated cannabis in their country, I'm going to be the first person to applaud. I'm not sure that we're there yet, and it doesn't look like the recent history and the way in which they've rolled things out would indicate that they're there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've only been legal for, 36 days.
I rest my case. 36 days in 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and like everywhere else in the world, they went legal, and they have 4 or 5 different, I don't know why I'm getting that feedback, because nothing's changed on my end, but they got 4 or 5 Bundesländer that are completely not about it. So Bavaria, for example, I always call Bavaria the Idaho of Germany. They're actively out there trying to create prohibition zones. And they're super conservative down there, and it's a very, Germany, you're either Protestant or you're Catholic, and Bavaria is very Catholic, and they're just not about it. The same with Schleswig-Holstein. It's the same thing. So I just think, I just thought it was interesting how they just baked it right into the law. And a lot of times in America, what'll happen is there'll be some social equity baked into the law that's always a little bit hollow, and we're going to make sure everybody can participate in the new business venture, but the pardoning or the expungement or the release of prisoners is not part of the lawmaking procedure, because the lawmakers don't want to give up that money. There's just too much money involved in the U.S.
Fair enough. They definitely don't want to give up the money, that's for sure, because they're about securing the bag. And coming up
100%.
next, that's right. Coming up next, that's right, it's Mr. Yarrow Kubrin, who's been securing bags in real estate, cannabis, and every once in a while he'll secure a bag in cannabis and real estate all at the same damn time. That's right, is none other than Mr. Yarrow Kubrin.
Oh, thank you. Good morning, Monday morning, High at 9 News viewers and my esteemed colleagues, St. Germain and Pearson here. I am in great company. My article today is from MJ Biz Daily. It continues to build upon a story that we covered here a few months ago. And a few months ago, I proclaimed that this was one of the most important, if not the most important story of the year. Let's see if this follow-up article continues to reinforce that boisterous statement. New Mexico cannabis operators report more seizures by Border Patrol. U.S. Customs and Border Protection agents seized more than $90,000 worth of marijuana products from state-licensed cannabis operators in New Mexico during 2 separate stops this week. Kaya Kirk, managing partner of Los Cruces-based Headspace Distribution, reported the latest encounters between U.S. Customs and Border Protection and New Mexico marijuana companies to MJ Biz Daily. These stops continue a trend that began in February and has resulted in regulated operators losing hundreds of thousands of dollars in product. Andrea Brown, a spokesperson for the New Mexico Cannabis Control Division, told MJ Biz Daily that its offices had been notified of the 2 seizures that happened Wednesday, confirming that the office now knows of 8 such events. Sheriff's witness product seizure. The CBP agents took possession of regulated marijuana products valued at $61,070 from Headspace Alchemy during a traffic stop along Interstate 10 headed towards Deming, New Mexico, Kirk said. He added that the vehicle allegedly was pulled over for potentially trafficking people. Then CBP agents saw we had cannabis and seized it. Headspace contacted the Dona Ana Sheriff's Department, which dispatched 2 officers to the scene. The company is working with the Sheriff's Department to get access to body camera footage taken during the search and seizure event. Kirk reported a second incident involving Desert Peaks Farm that took place at a CBP checkpoint along Interstate 25 north of Las Cruces. Roughly $30,000 in wholesale products was taken, Kirk told MJ Biz Daily, adding the bulk flour was taken along with $6,000 in cash. The cash was later returned. This is a huge amount of product being seized, Kirk said, and this has major financial ramifications on my business and every other business that has seizures. Cannabis regulators asked for clarity. Todd Stevens, director of the New Mexico Cannabis Control Division, asked that licensed operators promptly report stop and seizure events to the agency. The seizure of licensed cannabis shipments in New Mexico is creating confusion across our state's burgeoning legal cannabis industry and harming legitimate businesses, Stevens said. We hope that federal authorities can help us better understand why our state seems to be the only one targeted for seizures. Neighboring Arizona has an adult use market, as well as a CBP presence in the state, and California boasts the largest regulated marijuana market in the world, with $4.3 billion in sales expected in 2024, according to 2024 MJ Biz Fact Book. CBP is authorized to patrol within 100 miles of those states' borders with Mexico. So, when we covered this in February, I talked about how this was going to have a chilling effect on the industry. This was a gift for the trap, that no investor was going to want to put their money on a New Mexico cannabis business if they risked federal interference, which to date has been light or non-existent for most compliant regulated companies in states with programs. This is so bad. And what I don't understand is how is Biden and Kamala still taking a victory lap when this federal organization is doing this under Biden's watch. This is so FUBAR. I'm going to leave it to the rest of the guests to summarize their opinions. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News.
Man, oh man, Yarrow, I tell you what, buddy. First of all, this does happen in California and has happened in California. So the person saying this only happens here in New Mexico is not in reality. And I wonder, I have a question, because you mentioned 100 miles right, from the Mexico border.
Correct.
Do we have that same policy with our Canadian border?
Yes.
Yes?
That's 100 miles from all borders.
Interesting. So I mean, they in essence could be doing the same thing in New York.
I mean, they do it actually in the western states. I know somebody who just a couple months ago in trouble for backpacking across the border with some weird stuff that just found its way in their backpack.
It just found its way in their backpack, huh?
It's weird, right?
I mean, speaking of backpacks, there's still a lot to unpack. I mean, this is terrible, and what this is going to do for emerging market states, the fear that it'll create for capital partners, and just the disconnect between this happening while they're taking this victory lap because they're making these modest little incremental changes. It's really bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's shady stuff going on with the government in New Mexico all the time. I don't know if it has to do with white sands and all of the experimental and nuclear and DARPA stuff they do out there, but just it seems like it's a bit of like a dark and cloudy area, and the feds are always up to weird stuff out there.
It's also too a lot of places, they got a lot of RVs out there that are like labs, mobile labs out there. They had a whole show about it.
They got that in Arizona too, though. But
yeah,
again, for some reason, Arizona, it's all good.
Oh, well, I have a couple.
Well, I wintered in Arizona this year. Mm-hmm. Winter is a verb. And my girlfriend lives in Tombstone, which is way down south on the border of New Mexico and Mexico. And there was Border Patrol everywhere. I mean, we got stopped a lot. Mm-hmm. And they would search our car looking to see if we were smuggling illegals. I mean, that's just a normal part of life in that part of the world. And there's cannabis dispensaries everywhere down there. So it's really interesting to me. Also, I drove through Albuquerque, and that place is godforsaken. It just looks like the planet Mars. It's like no green whatsoever. I don't know. It just is.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Jamie.
I was just going to say, it just doesn't surprise me that the government I think they just do things with impunity down there because of all the Trumpian anti-immigration, anti-illegal
that doesn't make
rhetoric.
Any sense. That doesn't make any sense right there. That doesn't make any sense right there because Joe Biden's the president. And this is all Joe Biden's administration, and everybody entangled in all this is all Joe Biden related.
I think the Border Patrol emboldenment happened under Trump, and I think
that's not true.
Joe Biden
no, Jamie. That did not happen.
I just saw his neck roll.
Yeah,
no, you
Let me tell you
didn't.
Trump wanted to build that wall to help people get over here, is what Jason's saying. The wall was to help people.
Slow down,
the wall was a booster seat.
No, slow down, you guys. This happened even before the wall. This happened mainly under Obama when everyone was calling him the deporter in chief, and it's happened under every other president too. So it's not just under Trump.
Look,
that was so quickly.
I'll second Jason. I hate to do it, but I will second Jason on this.
At giving the people money for weapons to stage a coup against the local government, and then when all the locals flee because there's violence and people are getting raped and murdered, and they all come north. We're like, why are you coming here? Well, we funded all that. We created all that shit.
We did.
Yes,
I agree with that 100%.
That's correct.
I agree with that part. I agree with that part all the way. You are right.
This is all CIA hijinks going back to the 60s, trying to instill reactionary right-wing governments that support corporate capitalist rights. And a variety of states in South America and the Middle East wanted to form socialist governments that were into nationalizing the resources, using the resource, the capital from resources, educate their public and give them health care and better housing situations. He assassinated Mossadegh in Iran. He deposed and killed Allende in Chile, and the list goes on and on of people that Allen Dulles primarily,
exactly.
Bush Sr. assassinated and then replaced with pro-corporate interests.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Fair enough.
It's all about raping and pillaging natural resources and farmland and agriculture and everything for the benefit of the United States. But anyway, we digress.
And a lot of other countries do that too.
I'm
not
just not
America.
surprised that a border state with border agents that are completely out of control. It reminds me of Yellowstone. You guys, I'm sure you've seen that show.
Yeah.
And all the livestock agents on the show have guns, and they're all, shooting. That shit does not happen here. I mean, honestly, of course it's drama, but I think down there it actually happens.
Get them all more guns. Get them all. Well, I mean, technically, Jamie, Montana is God's country, so that's probably why you don't experience that up there.
It's the last best place.
Yeah, see? There we go. Speaking of best places, you guys are going to love this last story that I found for you guys. You guys are going to love this. The island's only commercial marijuana grower is set to close. And I can tell you guys right now, you guys are probably guessing that it's like some island like Jamaica or something like that. But guess what? You guys are all wrong. Fine Fettle, the vineyard's only legal permitted cannabis producer, has stopped growing marijuana on the island and will close its dispensary later this year. Very sadly, we have had to make the decision to slow down and then ultimately shut down operations on the vineyard. Company President Benjamin Zacks told the Gazette on Friday by telephone. Connecticut-based Fine Fettle purchased the West Tisbury cultivation and retail business back in 2021 from Jeff Rose of Patient Centric Incorporated, the island's first cannabis entrepreneur. The company grew marijuana indoors at a leased property on Dr. Fisher Road and continues to sell dried flower, buds, pre-rolls, joints, extracts, and edibles from the Fine Fettle dispensary on State Road. In quotes, "We do have quite a bit of inventory, and it's fresh and good," Mr. Zacks, who estimated that the dispensary will run out of stock and close this fall. The vineyard's operation failed to succeed due to a combination of regulatory and financial causes, said Mr. Zacks, whose company has another Massachusetts dispensary in Raleigh that will remain open. Cannabis producers in Massachusetts are required to test their soils, which on the mainland would be done at a third-party laboratory. But because the waters around Martha's Vineyard are under federal jurisdiction, Mr. Zacks said Fine Fettle had to set up its own testing protocols to avoid violating federal marijuana ban. In quotes, "For us, while Martha's Vineyard is in Massachusetts, it's like a whole other state with a whole other regulatory structure," he said. Fine Fettle's growers also had difficulty tailoring cannabis production to match the island's seasonable ebbs and flows in demand, Mr. Zacks said, and the plants don't care what time of the year it is, he said. Meanwhile, Mr. Zacks said competing dispensaries have proliferated over the past few years on Cape Cod and on the South Coast, where customers can pick up their goods on the way to the vineyard instead of waiting until they arrive. There's still a chance, he said, that Fine Fettle will find a buyer to take over the West Tisbury operation, which includes state licenses for cultivating, processing, testing, and dispensing cannabis, and is currently staffed by experienced islanders. In quotes, "I think someone's going to make this happen and make this work eventually," he added. "I'm really hopeful of that ultimately. And with Fine Fettle closing, there will be only one other dispensary on the island, Mr. Rose's Island Time in Vineyard Haven. Mr. Rose has also expressed interest in opening a location in Oak Bluffs, putting forward a zoning petition at a town meeting earlier this year that was rejected. While preparing to pull out of the vineyard market, Mr. Zacks has been thinking a lot about a future cannabis company could succeed here, he says. And he says there should be one operation on the island with a grow and probably 3 dispensaries, one up island, one in Vineyard Haven, and one on Eagertown or Oaks Bluff, keeping one open in the winter, he said, and while the other 2 stores are closed from November to April, Mr. Zacks envisioned the managers would focus on a cultivation schedule that meets the island's cycles of demand. He said, "Someone's going to crack this nut," he says. Well, you guys. Martha's Vineyard closing down. Man, oh man, I guess Obama didn't buy enough weed.
I think the way to run Martha's Vineyard is to curate really small batches to the very, very highest level with, kind of the most in-demand brands, charge people about 10 times what your weed's actually worth, and then shut down during the winter.
You think that's the play?
You gotta give them. That's what the rich people want, bro. They want to like flex their ego and show everybody their new watch.
Mm-hmm.
Look how much I paid for this.
But you also have Provincetown in that area, which is a gay community or predominantly gay community. And statistics show that gay people use cannabis at a higher rate than straight people, which tracks because you're swimming upstream in society. There's probably a lot more trauma in that community. But I'm curious because I have a cousin who spends
Jamie, I think
one vacation a year in Provincetown and is going to be super bummed if there's no cannabis there.
Jamie, you bring up an interesting point. I don't think it's necessarily because of any type of trauma or anything like that. I believe that it's because they don't have kids generally, and so you have a dual income, no kids, and that's known as dinks, and therefore you have a lot more disposable income. I mean, how much money could you
with the
trick
dink
off?
argument.
Yeah.
I was gonna argue the trope. It's because they have great taste.
No.
It's probably all of the above, but it's a fact. I mean, it's statistically
It is.
proven.
I agree with that. I agree with your assessment. I'm just saying I think it's.
Is Provincetown on Martha's Vineyard? I'm totally ignorant to the geography there.
It's nearby.
Nearby.
This is just a dispensary that's on the island
nearby
itself.
by like boat or like how would you get there? Could you drive there?
No.
You can drive to Provincetown.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Okay.
But it's like the tip, right?
Yeah, just the tip.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. Of course, Provincetown is just the tip. How ironic is that, you guys?
America's favorite summer pastime. Just the tip.
Just the
The
tip.
tip. Oh man, you guys, that was fun. That was fun. You guys have anything else you guys like to say in regards with this?
Come back tomorrow. We'll see you at 9 a.m.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at high noon on the East Coast. Big thank yous to our audience and us and correspondents, supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Zen Brands and Stretch and Smoke for keeping the lights on. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. And thank you all for tuning in and spending your time with us. Thank you to Cloud Media Partners. And that's right, we are High at 9 News. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.
Hey.
Peace out.
Peace out, you guys. Where are you?
Okay, I'm 20 minutes late for my 11 o'clock
hold on.
call. I gotta go. See you guys later.
Whoa. Where is my out? There we are. There's my outro.